So even after destroying the New Orleans Pelicans on Sunday, the New York Knicks are 22nd in points allowed per possession, which is wild because they gave up 28 first half points. The Knicks almost set a franchise record for fewest points allowed in that first quarter. It just blows my mind. The reason why the Knicks have struggled so much defensively is because rim protection hasn't been there, nor has the point of attack defense. If the Knicks don't continue to play in injury, just decimated Pelicans team every night, then they're going to give up a lot of points, which is something that I expect will get cleaned up once they bring back Precious Achiuwa and Mitchell Robinson. But until then, they're going to have to lock in because offensively, the Knicks are crushing it. There's been a couple of games this season, like against Houston, I'm not going to say against Boston because we shot 55% in that game. One of them, I guess, against Dallas, if you want to bring that up. There's been a few games this season where teams have switched heavy on us and they've had an answer. Another opponent that did a great job was the Houston Rockets, albeit they committed a lot of fouls that weren't called. The game was too physical. I'm all for physicality, but when you're fouling every single time and pushing, like, that's not defense. The Knicks lead the NBA in points per possession. They can score all over the court, but they need to play better against defenses that have had an answer for them. Defenses that switch heavy. Dallas does it, Houston does it, Boston does it. Those are going to be the areas that we're going to want to work on. Even Josh Hart said something after the Dallas game that they just had an answer because they were switching heavy. And Hart, he's shooting 72% from 2 point, 73% actually, on his 2 pointers, which is just below Daniel Gafford, who only shoots at the rim. Hart does take deep mid-ranges, especially as the shot clock expires. He'll even extend it past the three-point line. So Hart's playing the best basketball of his career. So is Cat. Brunson, he's been playing well the entire season, but he's really picked it up the past month. He actually was named the Eastern Conference Player of the Month. It's just going to come down to, can the Knicks get enough stops? Because against Chicago, they gave up 124. Against Utah, they gave up 121. Indiana, 131. Atlanta 121, and Houston they gave up 109, which isn't terrible, but they only scored 97. And that game was honestly pretty bad. The officiating was terrible, but still 132 against Boston. So these games the Knicks are losing, they're not going to be able to outshoot everyone. They're going to have to win with their defense, especially last season. That was the Knicks' sort of bread and butter, was defensively. They were the best once they got OG Anunoby. They had Devo. They had, of course, Mitchell Robinson came back, and they had Precious, and the defense was great with Josh Hart. They need to get back to that because if the Knicks can get into that top five type of area for their defense and then their offense continues to do what it's doing, well, that's certainly going to be a recipe to win a championship. So today we're just going to get into what the Knicks need to do more of moving forward. We do play tonight against the Orlando Magic. If we lose that game, we're out of the in-season tournament. I don't think the Knicks will lose. They're at home. They realize that it's a big opportunity in the sense of, well, one, winning a game, but also getting that $500,000, which would be great for a guy like a Matt Ryan. It'd be great for some of these players who aren't making, not to say much money, because it's a lot of money if you're in the NBA, but just not as much money as some of these other guys like Bronson, Hart, OG, Cat, Bridges. They're making 20 million plus a year. I don't think Josh Hart's making quite that much, but still, a guy like Matt Ryan who just got here, I mean, that would be essentially his entire salary of just winning this tournament. So that's what the Knicks have been saying. They want to go out there and get it, and I'm all for it. I do want to get into Cat, Bridges, and I also want to get into just some rumors slash reports. So we'll start off with Cat. So he's averaging over 25 a game, 13 rebounds a game. If you go back to 2000, the only two players to ever have done that, Shaquille O'Neal and Nikola Jokic. So Cat has an opportunity to do something historic, if we're being completely honest. Jokic has multiple MVPs. I think he's got 3 MVPs. And if he doesn't have 3, then he should have 3. And then Shaq, of course, is a top 10 player of all time, the most dominant player in NBA history. If it had been for a better work ethic, I think Shaq would have went down as the GOAT, if I'm being completely honest with you, man. Just ask Kobe. In terms of Mikal Bridges, he's struggled this season. There's no question about it. I actually want to pull up his stats to compare something. So on the season, he's shooting 46.6% from the field. He's averaging 16.3 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 3.2 assists. What is he shooting from 3? So he is shooting 33.1% from 3. But if you take a look at his statistics at home, He's averaging 20.6 points. He's shooting 54% from the field, 38 from three, 4.3 rebounds, 3.4 assists, plus 117. But the Knicks have played the fewest home games in the NBA this season. So it goes to show that Bridges is way more comfortable at home. And even if I didn't tell you that, if you've just been watching the games, and it's not just because of the last game where Bridges went off, but he's just felt comfortable. The crowd behind him, he just plays way significantly better there. And the Knicks, well, they're going to have some home games coming up. So actually, three straight home games: Orlando, Charlotte, and Detroit. Orlando is a very good team. Charlotte, Detroit, not so great. I mean, Charlotte has the capability of beating us because of LaMelo Ball if he can get really hot and score 30 to 40 on a good efficiency. Detroit, we'll see about that, and then at Toronto. But these are the opportunities for Bridges to just get back to where he was, because the Knicks, in order to win a championship, they're going to need the Bridges that can give you 20 a night on good efficiency, but they also need the good defensive Bridges. Maybe not necessarily the guy who was second in defensive player of the year voting, but they need him to be one of the better wing defenders up there with OG. That's why they traded their entire draft capital for him. And I mean, I've been a huge supporter of Bridges. I understand he's been struggling, it's been bad, but I know what he's capable of, and it was only a matter of time before he started to knock down some shots. But now the defense has to be there, because it really hasn't. And yeah, against the Pelicans, he was okay defensively, but okay is not going to cut it, especially when Cat is putting up, like I said, Shaq and Jokic numbers. Brunson is the player of the month. OG has been giving the Knicks very good production, so much that I didn't even expect he really could get up to there. I mean, OG's been crushing it. The past couple of games has been off, but still. So now Bridges, I mean, come on, man. You're essentially, if you think about it, the fourth option. The fourth option, I'd say OG is even ahead of him, because they run plays for OG. So, and I guess Bridges down in the mid range has been good, but still, I mean, he's just got to step up, and he did that against the Pelicans. But now he's got to do it against the Magic when the stakes are much higher. A better team that's not completely healthy, but they're healthier. And this is an in-season tournament game that the Knicks got to get. They don't get it, they're out, which is kind of hilarious because they're 3-0, but that's just how it works. That's how the cookie crumbles, I guess. Some other news is that the Knicks did actually express interest in Jimmy Butler this past summer, but the talks didn't go far beyond exploratory interest because the Knicks acquired Mikal Bridges from the Nets. This makes sense, as Tibbs coached Jimmy in Minnesota. He also coached him in Chicago. So to get him with the Knicks would be great. I know Jimmy's on the older side, but still his ability to defend, his ability to be a leader, knock down shots, especially when it matters. My thing with Jimmy is that he doesn't give it his all in the regular season. He usually gives it his all in the playoffs, which for the Knicks, that's not really going to cut it, because in the regular season, we need guys that are out there, especially for Tibbs, playing 37 to 40 minutes a night. Bridges is doing it. Hart's been doing it. OG's been doing it. We know Cat and Brunson have played high minutes too, so it wouldn't have made much sense. That's why getting guys on the younger side has been beneficial for the Knicks, because you look at Hart, who's 29, Cat is 29, and Brunson's 28. So the guys are around their later 20s, and that's sort of the perfect age, because you can still give it your all in the regular season. You can still have enough in the playoffs. So I'm not disappointed the Knicks didn't get Jimmy. Honestly, I would have preferred Mikal Bridges, even though we know what he's done. So yeah, cool with that. And then the last thing I want to say is that the Knicks are highly likely to re-sign Landry Shamet when he's healthy and convert Matt Ryan to a two-way contract. The question is, Ryan going to clear waivers, and then is he going to do that? I don't know why, because for one, he's on an NBA contender, a team that not lacks shooting, but he's just the type of guy. I mean, New York, you'd have to imagine you're making $500,000 a year, and there's of course there's taxes, but still, just to sit on the Knicks bench and to come in maybe in blowouts if the Knicks are up big or if they're down, and just shoot the ball like we saw against the Pelicans. He knocked down a couple of threes in 9 minutes, so I think he'll end up doing that. But Landry Shamet, I mean, we've been talking about this since the season started, that he'd be back eventually, just because he can shoot. He's got playoff experience. Tibbs liked him a lot, and he had one of the best, if not the best, training camps on the Knicks. But that's all I got for you guys. Knicks Daily. Peace.